Okay, greetings, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today we have with us our friend Ella from Iran, and she's going to share her dream with us. So I'm just going to throw it over to her, and she's going to tell us what she's got, and we'll try and figure it out together.
Shall I?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please begin anytime you're ready.
Will you edit these? Like, would it be possible for you to cut some parts?
Yeah, I mean, I could. I usually just leave it. Like once upon a time, recently there was calls drop, and then we got to put it back together because there's a lot of delay. Or one particularly long episode, we took a break in the middle of it. It's like 10-15 minutes to go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, and then I cut that out. But if we just jump right into the dream, I'll probably leave all this in because I think people find it interesting.
Okay.
That's up to you. If you wanted to start over, it's okay, but we could just go.
No, it's okay. No, we can just go. Okay,
all right.
So I'm gonna read the dream I had. Yeah.
Yes, please, anytime.
So in this dream, the dream starts with me walking down the street with one of my male friends. So in reality, outside of the dream, this friend of mine believes in the existence of a supreme entity like God out of the collective. He believes in a centralized power that rules over the humanity. But again, in reality, I don't believe in such thing. So in the dream, I'm walking down the street with him, and we are arguing about this problem. He's giving his reasons about the existence of God, and I'm giving him reasons about the possibility of every individual being a God instead of the existence of one God outside of the collective ruling over it. So we're walking, and we reach our university. He's my classmate. And I enter the university, but he gets stuck on the door. I tell him how to enter. I give him instructions. But when I get inside, he's no longer there, and he just vanishes from the dream. So when I enter the university, I'm in a luxurious exam hall, like something like Hogwarts exam hall. And when I'm there, I feel the presence of a male authority. Although he's not here, it's like an abstraction. There's no one that I can see. It's just a feeling of someone being the authority there. It feels like he's a king or something. And I feel very uneasy because I am in a state of forced and reluctant obedience. And this makes me feel very restless during the dream. And I have brought expensive flowers for that presence, for that authority. As everyone else in that exam hall has brought expensive flowers for him. And it is mandatory to bring flowers for him. And there's an old woman there. She's working as a coordinator. And she transfers the flowers to somewhere else. And I ask her where to put my flowers, and she asked me to follow her. So we're walking, I'm following her, and suddenly it is as if she has a change of mind. We reach a wall, a wooden wall, round wooden wall, and she presses something on a wall. And there's a number there on the wall, the number 65. And a hidden entrance opens in the wall. And we enter the hidden door, and this is we get entered into a secret bank. It has wooden classic walls, but modern furniture and modern staff that are busy at work. So in the bank, the woman goes into the back room. A bed is there in the back room, and the woman is searching for something that I am not aware of. Suddenly, a bestial woman appears. And this beast-like woman, the old woman gives her money, purple pinkish money. And the she-beast gives her an oval-shaped blue pill with a white crystal in the center. And the old woman crushes the pill and swallows it. And the purpose of this pill is to make the older woman the ultimate authority. When under its effect, everyone will be hypnotized to obey this woman. And these women are in a hurry now, and they want to fly to somewhere. They have a mission that I am not aware of, and they somehow insert me into the vein of the she-beast, the vein on her wrist, so they can carry me with them. And they rush out of the bank with people being hypnotized. Then they start flying till we reach, and we're flying in a space that feels like space, but it's also not very far from the Earth. So they fly till we reach to adjoining massive spheres, and it's like they're buildings in the shape of spheres, and inside them civilizations exist. So the old woman lands on the balcony of one of the spheres, and she has to hurry for the rest of the mission. But the job of the she-beast is done. And at this point in this story, me and the old woman are feeling a very strong love and attachment towards each other. So she doesn't want me to go with her. She wants me to stay in the vein where it is safer for me. And I refuse and insist on joining her, but she doesn't accept. And this is the point I wake up.
Okay, that is fascinating.
Okay.
I'm glad we were able to get so much more. So there's two pages of the original story, and now 5 pages of extra details.
Yeah.
No, I love it. There's always so much more. Well, before I move into trying to offer my suggestions, I like to ask people, during that process of going through it once and then again in greater detail, did some things come to your mind about what this means to you personally, how it correlates to things you're going through in your life?
Well, I had some initial interpretations,
Yeah.
but then I posted this dream on Reddit, and I got also interpretations from other people. So kind of my interpretation got mixed with those of other people.
Sure.
My own initial interpretation about that male presence was that it is because of the government of where I live. It's like always in Iran, I have always had the freedom to do whatever I want, and I've had a comfortable life. But at the same time, I felt really uneasy about the government, and I've had issues with authority throughout all my life, like in a school, in university. I just always, I am always inclined to disobey. That's, I think, my initial interpretation was that male presence is the atmosphere of suppression that is present in the country. But about the woman later in the dream, my interpretation was that this is also rooted in my own problems with female figures, because I've always had problems connecting with my own feminine side, and also I've not been very lucky in regards to friendship with girls. So I think it was this woman was like, I was trying to get a kind of reunion with the female figures in my life, and at the end I was unsuccessful in having this reunion. And also, I think the attitude that the older woman showed in the end of the dream, protection or love, that is a very classic method of upbringing in our culture. They care way more about health and the food you eat, the way you take care of yourself, and these kind of things that are in the category of protection. They care so much about these things, the parents, and they often lack the ability to express love, and
Mm.
it's like if we wanna divide the upbringing into two parts, like love and caring, they overdo the caring and they underdo the loving part. So I think the woman in the end of the dream was also an example of this.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me too, in terms of uh, the thought that came to my mind was broadly masculine or feminine modes of expressing love. In America, it's kind of a typical, and this may be in Iran too, but a typical stereotype that a woman brings a problem to a man and the man tries to solve it, and they're not communicating because she wants, listen to me so that I feel my problems are important. And the man says, yeah, but you have a problem. Why don't we just fix it? And he's like very concrete, do
Yes.
problem solving. So I was kind of getting a little bit of that vibe too, where it seems like there's almost a lot of greater focus culturally on the masculine energy of fixing problems as a demonstration of love rather than.
Exactly.
Yeah, that kind of resonates with you.
Yeah, that's actually how I am. Like my girlfriends come to me with their love problem, and I try to fix their problem, and they are like, "Just listen to me. Why are you trying to fix my problem?"
Gotcha. Yeah. And that's true. It's like I describe myself as, say, almost 50-50 masculine feminine. It's like I'm 100% male. I mean, the beard's probably a giveaway, but I'm not a masculine man's man, but I'm also not feminine as say someone who is very, well, I don't know how else to describe it. So I've got kind of equal parts.
Yeah, I know what you mean,
Yeah. So, and then there's some men who are very feminine, and there's some women who are very masculine, and those are just equally valid ways. And then it's the idea of what works between two specific people in terms of their communication style and what they're looking for. So that would, if you have more traditionally feminine friends and you're trying to bring a masculine energy of problem solving to what they want is the emotional support and the sense of I feel that you cared because you listen, type of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's just broadly speaking. Well, some of the things that stood out to me was that, the two main figures, well, there were kind of three main figures. There was your male friend who did not join you in the exam hall, couldn't get in. And there's the two then almost supernatural female figures that represent authority and of a kind and secret or transcendent knowledge shared through the pill, but there's a transaction to that too. You have to give something to get something, and then being able to fly through the air. So I think, there's something significant to each of those three characters. And I guess first, maybe your friend, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, is that there was something about him, about his approach, about his mindset, his belief structure that didn't allow him to enter this exam hall, which is university, which is kind of a place of learning new things. So to me, it stood out in my mind that if he's already made up his mind, he's not able to enter a place where his mind could change based on new information. That's
very accurate. Yeah.
That kind of makes sense to you.
Yes, I feel a sense of stubbornness around him always in regards to his beliefs, and also he was raised in a family where everything was way more strict than my own family. Like his parents were very strict, so it makes sense to me that he, as an adult, is also strict, and he has adopted their features. And so in this kind of being strict also applies to some of his beliefs.
Okay. Yeah. That was my first thought on him in general, was that, but there's also maybe something there to the idea that he was a necessary companion on the journey to the place of new learning. Does that kind of resonate
Yes,
with you as well?
that actually makes a lot of sense because we both went through a period of character development throughout the past 2 years, and we kind of drifted apart during these 2 years, but then we reunited. But before that, it was like we had a journey together, and it was necessary for both of us to have each other. And then we went through that phase.
Yeah, and then maybe reflected in the dream is this idea that you both drifted apart. You took a different path, one that he could not or would not follow, and that took you into this place of learning, or at least the potential for learning new things. And you had brought a required offering, something of value, and it was represented by flowers. And it wasn't that let me see. It's not that you were, say, eager to bring it, delighted to share this, but you knew that it was required. It was like, I'm going to have to do this if I want to get where I'm going. Does that ring a bell with anything?
I mean, it does rings a bell with the whole situation of life. Like, you have to sacrifice some stuff to get some things in return. But I think maybe in this particular dream, it was about blending in. Like, even if I am to do anything about this authority, I first have to enter, and I have to pay my dues.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with it. That idea of dues paying. That idea of there's what is it? It's not methods, but methods is what it is. There's kind of cultural rituals that you go through, and it's like, this isn't really my thing. I'm not enthusiastic about it, but I know it has to be done to just go through the motions and get through it to the next thing.
Yes.
And then it is interesting that the woman who is in charge of this place, and the second highest beneath the big kahuna, she makes the decision that you specifically should not go through the normal process. She's going to take you through a different process. That there's something in there that this woman who represents the highest authority figure in that building, second in command, chooses a different path in response to you. What do you feel when I highlight that?
Well, this is certainly a point that I hadn't paid attention to, but I think it's the idea of being the chosen one.
Yeah.
Like, every human being wants to feel different, wants to feel like they can get away with some things in life. Like teenagers, they feel like they're bulletproof. Yeah. And this is like, I feel like this is something like that. It's the idea of I don't have to take the route that everyone else takes. I can go a different route. Maybe that has certainly been my approach throughout life. Like, I've always been inclined to do something that other people may say that it's not a good idea to do. But this time, I think the difference was that this time I didn't choose. Like, I was going through the classic route, but this woman asked me to come.
Yeah. And I think that is important too, is that there's two things happening inside of you. Is the desire to be special. I think we all have that, to stand out or to take a different path than other people. Mm-hmm. But then the idea that you were willing to go along to get along, do the thing everybody else does, and that the authority figure in that space recognized something about you that was actually different. And so this idea of, you didn't go in there demanding, take me to the bank. You did what was expected. You did what was normal according to other people. And the powers that be recognized something inherently special and responded to that to take you on a different path. I think there's something in there. Have you had that experience in life, or other people seeing something special in you? And
there have been many times, like everyone around me, from university to a school, people always tell me you're like so talented, so smart. You should do that, do this. I have always got that sort of validation that kind of feeds the desire to be special. Like, but I think in this dream, I think it was, now that you mention it, I think it was a good thing in this dream. Like saying me saying myself that this is like a route that I want to take aside from everybody is something, but someone else, an authority, letting me do something different is like it has a different value.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was getting towards. Sometimes, like I said, I've been speaking English for 43 years and I can't even find the right words half the time, but that's a great way to put it. It has a different value to that quality of being recognized as special versus asserting your own specialness. That seems prideful in a way that someone else of competence, of authority, looking at it and saying, I see something in you. What did I watch recently? The Spider-Man movie where that was after the Avengers and Tony Stark had died and he gave the special glasses to Peter. And Peter's like, I mean, that chokes me up, that type of thing of someone of true ability, competence, recognizing, hey, you're like me. You're also, there's something about you. I love that feeling. I get a little choked up on that type of stuff. That kind of respect. It's a respect. That's great. And so then she takes you divert from the normal path because that's where you're supposed to go because of who you are. And she takes you to, it's also interesting, I don't know what the wood means necessarily other than maybe it's pleasing to you. It's how would you describe that kind of classic wood architecture type of stuff in terms of what it means about having a secret room behind it?
I think it is one of those things that always fascinates me. Like I like wooden walls, I like wooden floor, and also the university I went to had big lecture rooms with wooden walls that I always found very beautiful.
Okay.
But later in my student years, they tear it down and they made it modern, and I didn't like that at all.
Oh.
So I think this wooden wall was just that wall being represented in my dream, and the secret door behind it. Well, I've always been fascinated by seeing like secret doors in libraries, in bars. So
yeah,
it was,
for sure, and that just seems to fit with the theme of the woman recognizing something special. Not only is it you get to skip this process because of who you are, but I'm going to take you to a place that other people don't normally get to see or experience. And it's interesting, and I don't know what to make of this necessarily. It's interesting that it's you identify it as kind of like a bank. And I don't know what that means to you in terms of what comes to my mind is a bank is where wealth is stored, accumulated, dispensed. What is it? What associations do you have with the idea of the secret door leading into a bank?
Well, I myself don't necessarily like banks or for example, I always say that I am interested in many subjects, but one of the few subjects that I don't like is the idea of financial systems and banking law and stuff like that. And the whole thing being formal and being official, these are the things that I don't really like. For example, working for a company is one of my biggest threats, to be like a normal guy who goes to the bank and works there. That's something that I really don't like. And inside this bank, I didn't really mind the people there, and I didn't have a pleasant feeling about them, but I also didn't have an unpleasant feeling about them. I was very careless about them.
Sure. You
But
had no, you didn't look down on them or react with disgust or anything. They were just there.
no,
They're doing their
but I
thing.
remember I was being surprised that they are so modernized. Like, uh, just a few nights before this dream, I was talking to that male friend in the start of the dream. I was talking about with him about how technology in the hands of totalitarian regimes could be so dangerous. And in this bank, I saw them being all modern in a classic atmosphere, and I think it had that kind of feeling. Like, look, even these are now digitalized and modern.
Okay. Did you have a sense that, what am I trying to say? You said it could be a bad thing, but the idea of modernized in a classic setting and people working
Mhm,
competently, perhaps diligently, doing their jobs well. It's not
mhm.
something you wanted to do, but you didn't have a bad feeling about walking through that space. It wasn't like you felt it was being abused or used for
No,
bad
I didn't
purposes.
have a bad feeling. Yeah.
Okay. That is also interesting, too, that I don't know if you can still see the webcam, see the other cat walking through.
No, I don't. I don't
Oh, you
for
might have to
them.
go back and see the
Yeah.
video. That's our other cat, Prince. He's the one who devoured my 8th episode. Ate it right up.
Really,
Yeah, he hit the
I'm going
keyboard
to
and it deleted it.
open Discord now.
Yeah, yeah. You may see him again. He was just passing through.
Mhm.
It is interesting that the secret room was a bank idea, which actually represents something that it's like the last place you want to end up. Like if that was the
Yeah,
destination of
yeah,
your journey, you wouldn't want to
exactly.
stay there.
Yeah,
But it is interesting that she took you, say, through that space um, to another space, almost like, well, physically in the dream, you had to pass through that room to get
yeah,
to the other room. So there seems to be something significant there in terms of maybe, and it's just a suggestion again, maybe your brain's trying to process that might be a pathway that'll take you to something else more important. That's an option to you at least. Have you considered that? Like
uh,
maybe I wouldn't want to live there forever, but pass through
yeah.
the corporate world to get somewhere else.
I think recently I've been thinking about a lot about this matter that I shouldn't neglect the financial matters, and whether I like it or not, I should find a footing. Maybe not corporate per se, but just getting yourself out there and doing things. I've been thinking a lot about this recently, and maybe that's a representation of that. Like, whether I like the effort or not, I have to think about money.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's probably something in there too that if it's something you've in a sense actively avoided, like I don't like that, I don't enjoy it, I don't really care if I
Mm,
understand it, I just rather not think about it. There's probably
yeah,
something in your mind, yeah, like you were saying recently, that says, well, at the very least I should understand it better. And that there's
yeah,
probably something there about like, okay, getting a better grip on of your own financial situation or understanding of money and economics will
yes,
allow you to pass through to some other place. And that place, it seems to be represented by a bedroom. But it's
yeah,
also interesting that this the older woman is walking briskly. She is moving with purpose. She is long strides. She's
yeah,
on a mission. She's going somewhere. She's not walking slowly. She's
yeah,
just passing
yeah.
through.
She's in a hurry throughout all the dream.
Yeah, moving very
Yeah,
swiftly. That may represent, and I think parts of her represent you, and parts of her represent ideas of the feminine and ideas of authority, and ideas of maybe parts of your mother thrown in there, or how your mother gave you a model for what women are in the world. Um, all of that at once. But part of it represented by you would probably be the determined pace. Um, I'm not sightseeing. I'm getting where I'm going quickly, without wasting any time. I
mm-hmm.
think there's something there. And so what I was saying originally was, so even when she got to that room, she's looking for something. She does that quickly. And I don't know what it means exactly, the idea that it's a bedroom, that you pass from an examination hall with the flowers into a secret hallway behind them. We through a bank into a bedroom. What is a bedroom doing in this location in your mind?
Well, I thought about it a lot, but I didn't got any idea. I certainly like my bedroom a lot. I used to spend a lot of time in bed, and I always had kind of no, not regret. I didn't really feel good about wasting time or sleeping too much, but there was a phase in my life that I wasted too much time being in the bedroom and sleeping.
Okay.
I don't know if it relates to that.
Maybe so. I mean, it is important that that's the first thing that came to mind when you walked yourself through the dream back into that room. It's important to say that the bedroom is a place of comfort. So comfortable, you didn't want to leave. At one point, you're like, I'm just good here. Why would I go anywhere else? I like this space. That is, if I'm correct to say that you weren't isolating in the bedroom because of depression. You were more like, this is my comfy space. I just enjoy it here. It was more of a happy place.
Yeah, I really liked even now I really like being alone, being at home. So
I'm definitely the same way. Yeah. I spend a lot of time alone, and if I never had to leave my house again, I'd be perfectly fine. I'm very much a kind of mountain hermit.
I'm happy about COVID.
Say again, sorry.
I'm actually very happy about COVID.
Yeah, I'll say
2020 is the best year.
Right? Now nobody tries to get me out of the house. They just leave me alone.
Yeah.
I get that too.
Awesome.
And that's I've had a lot of people I work with say that they're it's been a big disruption on their social life, and I'm like, not me. I don't go anywhere anyway. But it is nice to be free of that burden. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think that does. And again, this is just another transitional space. The dream doesn't end there. That wasn't the destination.
I got another idea about the bedroom.
Yeah.
During the phase that I was doing so much self-digging, I tried to understand my past relationships, and I digged a lot around the relationships I had. So maybe the bedroom is representing the relationships, and maybe the woman searching for something there is a representation of the digging I did.
Yeah. And she spent, so if that's partly you is in that woman, she's showing you something in her behavior, the determined pace and the efficient, quick searching, and she doesn't waste time in the room. So maybe there's a desire to be back in that space, and the comfort you found there, and the enjoyment in that isolation, and the deep thought. But she goes through that motion pretty quickly and moves on to, and that search seemed to be the trigger for the arrival of the she-beast woman.
Yes. Yeah, now that you mention it, I think it's like the she-beast saw that she is searching, so she came.
Yeah, and that's what I talk about with like the idea of triggers. Is like the one behavior follows another, and it's that action which opens the door to the next piece of the dream arriving and presenting itself. So there's something about that search. I don't know why I'm getting at an idea of, again, if all of the people in the dream are at least partly represent some elements of yourself, there's something of you in this.
Yeah, I definitely feel something of myself in her. The only thing that comes to my mind is that I have been starting to work out intensely for the past year, and it's like that she-beast also was very muscly.
Okay.
I think a superficial representation that.
Sure.
Yeah. But maybe that part of me that is interested in physical activities and
Yeah.
power. Yeah,
Yeah.
power especially.
The idea of attaining more physical strength to be able to exert yourself in the world more.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think that fits with the idea of her being, it's one thing to say not entirely human, a humanoid, but beast-like, and embracing physical activities has a beast-like feel to it.
yeah,
We'd say humans are more thinking, animals are more acting. So if you transfer
yeah,
more thought, energy, behavior into more physical activity, it can feel very animalistic, especially the working
yeah.
out intensely. Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure. So that,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be that part of you. And there's that transaction that takes place. But so if the woman, the older
Hmm.
woman, the kind of middle-aged
Yeah,
authority figure, is having a transaction where she offers this kind of pinkish purplish money, and she
yes,
gets this pill of power
yes.
in return. I'm
Hmm.
wondering what that. I think there's something in that transaction there, giving money for knowledge, giving money for authority.
Hmm.
What comes to your mind?
Well, I really didn't have any idea about this part of the dream, but um, maybe just the fact of the world we live in that everything has a cost, and
Yeah,
one of those costs is most of the time money,
yeah,
especially when it comes to power. Like in politics, economics are very a strong base of politics, and where money goes drives where politics goes.
yeah. True. If those are the thoughts you're having, kind of issues you're processing during the time when this dream occurred, and that's also.
I'm sorry,
Whoa,
my
you
phone
okay?
fell down.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We call this accidental production value. What happened? Now people suddenly turn their eyes back to the screen to see. Um, this is also a consistent theme, or resonates with the idea of bringing the flowers as a payment to go through the motions of making an offering, because it's what's expected, and you don't get something for nothing. And again, here you've got the, I don't know why it's
Yeah.
like intellectual strength and physical strength. It seems the two women kind of that idea comes to my mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, and the intellectual side is making an exchange with the physical side, and
Yeah.
but then from then on they travel together. But first,
Mhm.
you've got to be as a kind of a third party where all three people are you, so to speak.
Mhm.
You've got to be put into the vein of the animal woman in order to
Mhm.
participate in the journey. Like you couldn't fly
Yeah.
there on your own. You had to be somehow kept safe inside the body of the
Yeah.
animal woman. I don't know. Does that
Mhm.
bring anything to mind?
Well, I didn't really had any idea about this part again. Later on, I thought about it. I felt like the atmosphere of the rain maybe kind of resembled what it's called, uterus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
almost like being put
it
back
was.
inside the womb.
Yeah, boom. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I felt, yeah. Later that I thought about it. It felt like it was like me being in the womb and ready to be reborn and stuff like that.
yeah. No, I think that's very powerful. But it is interesting that it's a vein too. That it's not. You didn't have this image of yourself being put back inside, literally the uterus, like a reverse
Yeah.
birth. But the vein. I don't know if veins mean anything to you specifically. Here he goes. Hi,
Well,
Sam.
it was the vein on the wrist. So for me, it represents life and also the cutting of life, since lots of the imagery of suicide in my mind
Yeah.
is from in the vein. So it was like maybe I was put back in the life essence of this woman. I don't know.
Yeah, no. I think those when those associations come to mind, I think there's something there. The idea of being put into a place that is powerful but vulnerable at the same time. Like we need those veins. They serve a
Yeah.
very useful purpose, and they're also
Mhm.
vulnerable in terms of if they're cut, that purpose is
Yeah.
severed, and it would be devastating to the life of the person.
Yeah.
And that you were put there for safekeeping in that place that is equal parts powerful and vulnerable. Yeah, there's something there. I don't know. I'm not quite grabbing onto it. Usually things come together a little bit more than that, and that was the only way to safely make the flight, that you were going to have to fly.
Yeah, because I couldn't fly. Those two could fly, and I couldn't, so I had to be put into the vein.
Yeah, and you weren't put into the vein of the intellect, or wisdom woman, the older woman. You were put into the vein of the more animalistic woman.
Yeah, I think it was a power specific to her.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, is that it couldn't be done any other way. And there's something about being inside that body that is important.
At this point of the dream, I really felt like a child. Like being in that vein, also that feeling of vulnerability that you said.
Yeah.
The pronunciation. That feeling was, I had that feeling. Like I was a one delicate child in that vein. Yeah. I changed the word.
That's okay. No, I do that all the time too. I love thesaurus. I'm always looking up thesaurus stuff. What's another way to say that? Yeah, I think there's something, and maybe I'm dwelling on it too much. Maybe we'll come back around to it or not. But yeah, I think that's important too. And that's definitely something maybe to meditate on, is why that representation? Why was it necessary to be returned to a state of vulnerable child in need of protection, but also worthy of protection? They didn't leave you behind and take off without you. They brought you and they said, this is how we're going to do it. You okay?
It fell down again.
Oh no. We got it.
Okay.
We're good. Yeah. And then it is also interesting that this flight takes you over a river, and that in the past, rivers have been more places of struggle for you. And now you're not only on the bank of the river, you're not just seeing a river safely from a distance, you're flying over it like your troubles are they're far away, insignificant, present no obstacle. I think there's something important there.
Yes.
Does that bring anything to mind?
Well, as I said, the river dreams were a very significant part of my inner journey. Like, I was 2 years ago, I was faced with a very difficult decision, and I somehow, without knowing, made the wrong decision while knowing that this is the wrong decision. But it was like the kind of self-destructive behavior. And making that decision, I had lots of dreams of being in the river and struggling in the river. And after I made that decision and did what I wanted to do, my dreams turned into me being stuck in muddy rivers. Like the rivers turned green and like some kind of, what is called, I don't know. They turned into this greenish river that I was stuck in. Okay. But after I undid that decision, like a year had to be passed, and after that the decision was to move back to my old hometown. And after a year, I was able to move back to the capital again. And when I moved to the capital, the river dreams stopped, and this time whenever I dreamt of river, I was out of the river. Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's a very powerful symbols as well, because rivers are literally a force of nature, water, powerful water, so much. And if you have a decision like that, it's like throwing yourself into the rapids. It's like, and then you're floundering and getting smashed against the rocks and struggling to keep your head above water. And that's all representative of, God, why did I do that? Why did I jump into this water? I knew this wasn't going to work. So, yeah, but that's really good in this dream. I think you're definitely telling yourself you are so far removed from these problems that at this point you can using, and it's important that it's using the abilities of these
two types of powerful woman that allow you to fly over the river. That you maybe couldn't do it on
Yes.
your own, but it's through
Yeah,
this
that's
method.
actually very accurate because both intellectual approach and and also working out and the physical approach really helped me along the path that I had.
That is good. Yeah, I think there's something there. I think that's very much, and it's bringing your attention back around to these important elements of yourself and modes of interacting with the world that have given
Yes,
you the ability to
exactly.
fly.
Yes.
Yeah. And then it
It's a
takes you,
nice way to put it.
say again.
That's a nice way to put it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, important and interesting, of course, that it takes you to these spheres that are on your desktop. And I wanted to ask you why originally you had chosen that picture to put as your desktop, because that's probably why that destination showed
Yeah.
up in the dream.
Actually, I thought about before choosing this desktop wallpaper. I searched lots of gaming photos, because the sceneries from games are usually beautiful,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I wanted to find a scenery that just speaks to me and where I am currently. So I found this picture. There are passengers on the side of the picture, and they are looking at a sphere, and this sphere contains civilizations, and this civilization is like very bright and shiny. And the sphere is also made of glass. And I chose this picture because for me it represented me glimpsing into the future and maybe moving to places that I like I am thinking about moving abroad and I'm doing some things about it. So this is like a representation of moving abroad for me, this wallpaper.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely a destination. I mean, literally in the dream, that is where you are going to.
Yeah.
And from your real life, it also represents like moving towards something that you want to accomplish,
Yes.
moving towards good things. You weren't moving towards an active volcano to fly into it. You're going to these
Yes.
representations of a shining.
Moving forward in life.
Say again.
Representation of moving forward in life.
Yeah, and moving forward towards a goal that you want to achieve. Represented by these futuristic spheres kind of suspended in space. Now, in your desktop photo, was there two spheres in the same?
No, it's just one.
It's just one, but in your dream, there's two, and you actually go to the one that's above and the other one, which is very interesting too. It's like, why a second sphere? Why two representations? And you even go to the one that's, I mean, a synonym for above can be superior, as opposed to inferior, above and below. So you went to the superior sphere, and that's where you landed. That is interesting too. I don't know if that anything comes to mind. Why two of them, and why the top one? Does that bring any thoughts to your mind?
Well, the response that I got from Reddit was that these two spheres kind of represent breasts.
Okay.
So maybe it's like reconnecting with the feminine side.
Sure.
Yeah,
but
like
they weren't
going back to mother, like stuff like that.
Yeah, but it was now that's the original vision I had in my mind too, of two spheres side by side, and that's probably what that person was thinking, two spheres side by side, breasts. But the idea that they were kind of one on top of the other is interesting too. That kind of changes the dynamic of it a little bit. I wouldn't think breasts, and I wouldn't think testicles either. Those would be side by side as well.
Maybe there was like some sort of hierarchy between these spheres, but I'm not really sure. I never give any thought to this part of the dream, like the location of the spheres.
Yeah, and just in broad terms, we think of if you were flying to the bottom one, that's like you'd say starting at the bottom, you got a longer journey to go up. But if you fly directly to the top one, that's more of the destination. So maybe it was another hint of specialness of like, well, we get to skip going through this other sphere and head straight to the top one. Could be.
I'm
could
always
be
inclined to skipping a step, so
yeah. And then and then the idea that there was a balcony and it was all ready, and this was the entrance. There was no. you didn't have to crack the sphere to get in. You didn't have to wait for permission. It's just this landing zone is waiting for you. And then there's more to come inside. And it is interesting, say that you had the sense that the more animal woman, her portion of that mission was complete. She got you, and did you have the sense that she was also guiding the other woman?
The woman was in the front throughout all this passage.
Okay.
Like she was the one that was guiding, but the bestial woman was the one that was following her. But I think the idea of flying came from the bestial woman. Like, since she was there, the older woman could fly, and when the woman reached the destination, there was no more need for flying.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that too, is that there's something about the quality of the animal woman that allowed the, say, intellect woman to get where she needed to be to continue the journey, that she couldn't have done it on her own. She needed that support, that what am I trying to say?
The power that the bestial woman.
The power that she was able to provide. Is a good way to put it. And also, that's what carried you to that destination. And then the intellect woman said, you can't come inside you can't come with me. It's not safe. That she felt you would be in some kind of danger if you followed her path inside.
She was on this mission, and her mission was dangerous. Like, if she was to overcome the authority, like, she had obstacles in her way, and it was dangerous.
Do you see a path for yourself, a potential path that might put you in danger in terms of contradicting or resisting or some kind of authority? Or do you have that desire?
I always have paranoia tendencies, so it's natural of me to see fears in new challenges. I think maybe this was also, now that we talked about all this dream, this new interpretation came to my mind that it isn't, the intellectual wants me to stay because she is afraid that I'm gonna fail. So it's like me being between my comfort zone and my path for moving forward. And at times I may be very inclined towards my own comfort zone and wanting to avoid challenges. And maybe this was also that part of me in the intellectual woman fearing for me and not wanting me to face new challenges.
Yeah, and possibly in I don't want to say irrational fear, but more fear than is necessary, like fear versus a recognition of danger. And then that would be the other side of it, is that you may be considering some paths that you think are legitimately dangerous, and this side of you might be saying you're not ready for that yet.
Yes.
Like, something like that, or that hesitant. And that's really hard to tell. It's like we want to listen to our fear, anxiety, and pain because they give us real warnings of actual potential danger in the world, unless they don't. And that's when it's a problem. That's when it's like, what if I'm afraid of nothing and I should force myself to go through with this? And that's where
that's actually what I felt about the concern of this intellectual woman.
Yeah.
Like, I felt I insisted that I want to go with her and I can do it, but she refused. And I think it was an irrational kind of rejection.
Gotcha. Okay, that is a lot more clear in terms of that. That is how you perceived it. You're like, no, I'm definitely ready for this. And she's like, but what if you're not? Maybe we should. Yeah, gotcha. Yes. And then that's when you woke up, is when she made that decision of going on alone. And you're like, well, that's the end of that for that moment. Yeah. And it gives you enough to think about, huh?
Yes, exactly. I think maybe somewhere in the future, if I am able to face the challenges that I want, maybe that's when I enter the sphere.
Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful image of a place worth struggling to arrive at is this futuristic sphere of containing civilizations worth of people and experiences. And that's when you talk about wanting to say go abroad and travel and see the world. There is an entire multiple civilizations out there in terms of different cultures and areas. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a wonderful representation of it, and it's like an entire world to explore.
Yes. I think now I see this dream more clearly.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, is if you had more questions, or if you thought we arrived at some pretty good understanding of the different elements. It's all up to you how long you want to keep talking. I'm good either way.
I think we concluded it in a very good way, and I think I got everything I wanted from this dream. Like I was still hazy about some parts of this dream, but now I think it's all cleared up.
But now it feels pretty good. I feel pretty good about it too. I don't know that I would have too much more to say, and this guy is going to start biting me. Oh, yep, he did. Ooh, unbelievable. He likes to lay on my paperwork. So, yeah. Well, I think we'll just. that's my princey boy, my son. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we'll just wrap it up, and if you'll hang out just a couple minutes after I kill the recording, and we'll chat for a minute, and I'll say to everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of Dreamscapes. Please like, share, subscribe, and thank you once again to our friend Ella from Iran for coming along on this journey with her, or taking us along on this journey with her.
Thank you, Sue.
All right, take care.
Take care.